behalf of Southwest Boxing Media, we're delighted to be joined with Natasha Jonas today. Natasha, how are you? How has Christmas been?
It's been good. It's nice to get back to a little bit of normality. Tier 2 privileges. So yeah, we had family mixing with a few people and stuff. So that was good.
Oh, wicked. Obviously, a few weeks back, we saw like me and Ciaran, you were back in Carlton doing the business. I really thought he was going to do it. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd seen I see the behind the scenes that nobody else sees. I mean, Joe is meticulous in his planning. So, you know, he always concentrates that there'd be like lots of obviously lots of things, but there's always one or two things that he homes in on. And yeah, it was just unfortunate. But to be fair, in Callum's defence, I didn't give Canelo credit for how his boxing IQ and how clever he was. I always knew he was, strong, powerful, explosive, and had a good defence. But I didn't. His boxing IQ is very high. I didn't rate that as much as I should have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you've spoken to both Callum and Joe at some point over Christmas, Tash. How is Callum? I mean, how's that arm of his? Is there anything you can tell us on that at the moment?
Not at the moment. I know that he went to see a specialist, and yeah, it's healing. He hasn't said much in the little group chat that we've got, but yeah, so it is on the mend. It was, I think, a torn bicep, and yeah, he's like I say, he's just waiting to see a specialist over it in regards to the healing and recovery.
Does it say a lot about his character? I mean, at the end, he didn't use it as an excuse. I mean, we've seen in 2020, I mean, the excuses is from Wilder. We've seen Lomachenko as well recently coming out with a few excuses. Does it say a lot about, Callum's character and respect that he didn't make any at all?
Yeah, I definitely. I think, the type of person he is, he doesn't want to put that forward and let that be an excuse and a reason why. He just, like, he lost fair and square, and he's accepted that, and that's what it is.
I mean, a loss isn't the end of the world. Sometimes I think fans forget that. Not many people leave the sport today with that all intact. You obviously had a loss in the ring yourself. Was it difficult to dust yourself off and come again, or did it motivate you more than to push on?
I think what hurt me most was the manner of the loss. I've never been, stopped as an amateur, never been, counted out or anything like that. And I think it was that more than anything that hurt. And it damaged my pride, ego, and all that stuff. And it took a long time to recover from that, because I doubted whether I was the same boxer that I was before. And I had quite a long time out. I went to visit my brother in Australia and was there for like 6 weeks, a month. And by the time I'd come back, I thought, right, I'll make a decision when I get back. And when I got back, I was just eager to punch something. So I was like, well, it's not fully over if you've still got them feelings. And then I was like, I don't want to leave on a loss, and I don't want to, so we'll see where it goes. And then obviously, clawed my way back. And it did give me a little bit of motivation, because obviously in the Harper fight, everyone was like, you lost to Obanov and Harper beat her well, and you've been stopped. And I think sometimes, I remember Savannah Marshall talking about it as an amateur. She was undefeated going into the World Championships as an amateur, and she said there's like a pressure with the O, and there's never a truer word. Like when you've got that O, everyone wants to finish being a Floyd Mayweather or a Joe Gallagher, and the reality is not many boxers do. Even Canelo has lost his O. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't mean that you still can't be great, or you can't improve, or you can't progress. But sometimes as a boxer, when you lose it, you feel like that.
Speaking of the Harper fight, I'm sure you're bored of talking about it now, but we've got to ask you. Was it bittersweet? Sweet for the fact you proved all those people saying you were old, you weren't going to be able to keep up with it. But was it sort of bitter with the fact that it was such a close fight and it ended in that draw?
Do you know what it was? I think, the time it was, obviously, it was supposed to be in the April, and then I thought I took the fight for the opportunity, and Joe genuinely didn't want me to take it because the money was low, and he was like, no, you shouldn't take it. And I was like, well, do you believe I can win? And he said, yeah, of course I do. And I was like, well, I believe I can win, so let's just take it, and then the money will be better after that because I'll win. And then so we obviously we went into lockdown, so that meant the fight was off for the time being. And I panicked then, thinking that the opportunity had gone, and I didn't know when my next fight would come. So when, you know, we was allowed back in the June, and, you know, Eddie had said, yeah, the fight's definitely on for the August, it gave me that extra, you know, kick to be like, right, we've got it now, we've got to prove what you've been saying. So, you know, at that time, the baby's school and stuff was finished. So she was coming to training sessions, you know, I couldn't put it in my nan's bubble because my mum was already there, and because I was seeing other people, my nan's vulnerable, I didn't want to have her mix. So, and I've got my cousins who are regular babysitters for me, they too have vulnerable kids. So I was like, right, she's going to have to come with me, and Joe was okay with that. And then obviously, you know, she'd given me water in between sparring sessions. I'm chasing her down the track trying to think. So it was brilliant. I'll probably never have another camp like that where she was so heavily involved. But at the end of it was such a hard, obviously you're fighting for a world title. It's always going to be hard. Every camp's hard, but I wanted something to show for it, to show for me and her, to be like, look what we did, babe. And it wasn't to be. But, you know, all the criticism, I've seen Steffi commenting about some of, you know, my fans and some trolls on social media having a go at Terry. And I don't condone that in any way, because it's not Terry's fault and it's not Steffi's fault and whatever. I don't condone that. But, you know, some of the stuff that I was getting on social media before that, from her fans partly, but from general boxing fans, you know, when we are in the sport, I mean, it's not acceptable, but we are open to it. You know, people are always going to have an opinion, and it's not right, but you know, people will say stuff, and I think you've just got to be a little bit tougher. But I remember going through, and the really, really bad ones, I was liking. Because I thought, when the fight's over, I'm going to reply to every single one of these. And luckily enough, the fight was over, it was done. And some of them messaged me and said, look, we are so sorry about the comments that we made, and we didn't believe it and all that. So that kind of vindicated it for me. I didn't need to go back. I didn't reply to all the others then, because I thought, well, you've already learned your lesson, you know what I mean, kind of thing.
Tasha, we heard you one of these fighters that doesn't really watch your fights back after. Is that true?
Yeah, no. I think in the lockdown, obviously Joe's got his academy, and it was the first time that I've watched the Katie Taylor 2012 fight back in full ever. And that was because they were going and assessing it and evaluating it, and I was watching it, I was like...
I mean, did you break that tradition for the Harper fight? I mean, you know, given you were so confident in yourself that you had won, did you want to watch it back to see, you know, if that draw was correct, or did you change your mind? I mean, what was it for you?
I think it's probably one of the only fights I've watched numerous times, and I thought I'd won by at least a round on the night. But when I watch it back, I think that I win by 2. So, I mean, you know, people say, when people are arguing about the robbery thing, it's not the robbery but it's the majority of people potentially thought I won more than potentially thought I lost. So when people are saying robbery, I don't think they mean, oh, you know, she won by 5 rounds and they've given her a draw. It's not that type of robbery. I think the majority of people thought I won, and more than they thought I lost. So, but yeah, it was a close fight, and it wouldn't be the same result, because I think I have to box a little bit differently for the next one, if there ever is a next one.
Well, coming to 2021, the sort of our question is, I mean, what are you eyeing at? I mean, so many great fighters in the division. I mean, you're looking for the rematch. I mean, you've obviously got Wallstrom, you've got Pearson. I mean, it's stacked with great fighters. Okay, I mean, what's your hopes of 2021?
I think you just be active. I think that's everyone's hope, I think. And, you know, I would love the rematch, but if that's not coming and, you know, she's talking unifications or whatever, I'm not going to sit around waiting on Terry Harper. I'm, you know, too old to be doing that. I've got other things to be doing. There's other champions out there. Yes, Matchroom do have the majority of them, but they don't have them all. So, you know, if you know, Choi, Hamadouche, Mia, whoever becomes available before that, that's who I'll be taking. I'm not going to sit around waiting for Terry Harper, even though I think that's part of the plan.
You saw that with sort of Chantal Cameron, didn't we? She was sort of picked to be fighting Katie Taylor. But I mean, fair play to Chantal. She didn't hang around. She just went off and did her own thing. And I think sometimes that's the best approach, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you can only push it so far, and you put yourself in these positions to be able to box, and you know, if they don't want it, what can you do? If promoters don't want to put it on, what can you do? You'd think that Chantal and Katie would be an easy fight to make, as they're both with Matchroom, but you know, for whatever reason it is, it's not happening. But that's, you know, there's lots of fights out there domestically and across the border that people would love to see. And I think, you know, Taylor and Cameron's one of them. You know, Clarissa, Hannah Rankin and Sav we've already had. You know, there's me, Harper, and I was the one that actually approached Eddie when we was thinking, saying, if I can't have Teddy next, can I have Hamadouche? Can I have this one? Can I? And you know, for whatever reason, well, the reason is money, that we couldn't sort it out.
Yeah, I mean, that comes on to sort of the next thing I was going to ask you, Tash. I mean, there were rumours of a 3-fight deal with Matchroom. Is there anything you can tell us on that? Is that something that's still on the table, being negotiated? Is there anything you can say?
As far as I'm aware, they said we'd revisit. We totally met at a stalemate for the last contract, and as far as I'm aware, they said we'd revisit it this year. Yeah. When this year, I don't know. But I've had no call or no progress reports as of yet. But hopefully, you know, something can happen. You know, with Matchroom having the majority of the champions in the weight division that I'm in, it makes sense to be with Matchroom. Obviously, Eddie's got a lot of pulling power within the division anyway. So yeah, it does make sense. I'd like to revisit it, but obviously I want it on good terms. It has to be fair.
Noticed that there's been a bit of back and forth between Harper and Mia, but you're not really one for sort of Twitter beef for you, Tash. Is it not really your thing, or this malarkey on social media?
Like, each to their own. Everyone will, you know, you are a product and you are there for entertainment, whether you like to admit that or not. Some people add to their value by, you know, portraying themselves as, you know, feminine and good looking and whatever. Men do that too.
You and me portray our good looks all the time.
we try.
So, you know, and then some people add to their value by you know, trash talk. Muhammad Ali is the most famous for it. Tony Bellew is high up there for it. That's what Maya does, and the back and forth with her and Terry are quite funny. Sometimes she doesn't like facts, Maya, but then, you know, Terry is good with comebacks and has a good bit of banter, which is always good to see. And yeah, I think it makes for a good fight, because there'll be more than just boxing and egos and pride at stake. So yeah, but it's not my type of thing. I am quite good when I'm in the mood with quick one-liners, but yeah, it's not really my thing. I'm a bit more mature. I don't want to say old, but a bit more mature. So yeah, I'm at that stage in life where I just want to get on with everybody. Business is business when you're in the ring, but you know, after that, it is what it is. It's just, you know.
Also in 2020 as well, Tash, we saw you were part of the Sky Sports punditry team. I mean, how much do you enjoy doing that? Is there something that you thought you were quite natural at?
I wouldn't say natural, because I do get quite nervous sometimes, but obviously the more you do, the better you become. So I've been part of the Sky team, I've been part of the Zone team, and it is good fun, and you get the best seats of the house for the best fight. So, you know, I can't moan. So it's definitely something I'd love to do more of. But obviously me competing comes first.
Is it nice to be involved in the fights and not get punched in the face as well?
Oh yeah, and just you know, I'd like to think that I'm quite knowledgeable on boxing. So, you know, and critiquing other people's performance instead of my own is always better. But yeah, it's just, you know, I like to, when I do my commentary work, I always go and see some of the fighters, because I want to, it's all right us sitting there critiquing what we see, but sometimes, like, I believe that you should know what the plan was, so then you could see how well they've adapted to the plan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, we saw, sorry Scott, we saw a former stablemate of yours, Paul Smith, as well, after boxing. You went down the route of punditry. Is it maybe a future life for you then?
Yeah, I would think so. I don't want to say I'm made for telly, but I am. If Sky's watching, I am. But yeah, no, it is. It's fun to do. It's obviously it's something. I'm talking about something I know. And yeah, it's interesting. It keeps me interested, on my toes. It's a different adding another string to my bow, as they say.
Watching the fights live, Terry was fighting, Kate was fighting. Was there a part of you that wanted the underdog to win, or did you want them to win so it paves the way for you to fight them?
No, I mean, people think that, like, I've got this thing with Terry. I've got no issue with Terry, and I think Terry knows that. I messaged Terry before the fight saying good luck, you know, and I asked her what her plans was, so I could say them. So that I have no issue with Terry at all. And if anyone has the belt, I want it to be this side of the Atlantic. You know, it's better for us that we have the champions. So, you know, I think I actually said on commentary that I think she'd win by stoppage. I just didn't think Flanders was strong enough. And one of the things that I had over Terry was strength, and she went away and worked on that.
Yeah, this year as well, Tash, I got to ask you, was it a proud moment for you personally seeing, I mean, the triple header of women's world title fights? I mean, we know you're someone that's massively pushed the continuous rise of women's boxing over the years, and to see how much it's thriving now, it must be a personal pride for you as well.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be a young girl now coming into boxing, because there's so many much more opportunities. There's a clear route and structure of how to get where you want to get, and then you've got the option at the end of that whether you want to stay amateur or whether you want to go pro, and that wasn't always the case. So it is nice to see the progression, but we've always known how good elite amateur boxing was. We just needed the world to see it. So we needed the platform, we needed the support, and we needed the platform and the support. So now that we've got that, you know, we've got to run with it, and you've got to put the best fighters on for the great thing about women's boxing is that everybody wants to be undisputed, and everyone wants to fight everyone. You don't see Mia saying, I've got a trophy now, so I've got a belt, so I'm just going to keep it, and I'm just going to go back to boxing whoever I was boxing. She's like, no, I want to fight Terry Harper. And then Terry had the thing and was like, no, I want to fight this one, I want to fight that one. And that's the good thing. We nobody wants to just have a belt and content with the belt. Everyone wants to fight everyone, and because the pool at the minute isn't, you know, as vast as the men's, it's possible to be able to do that. All the champions can fight, and there's a lot less avoiding people in the women's boxing than there is in the men's.
Before we go, Tash, I've got to ask you about the Taylor fight. I know you touched on it. Do you think we can see this fight again? But do you think we're going to need to have fans there for it to happen?
It would be a shame to have a fight like that without fans. I think, you know, the Irish are renowned for their great support, and to be fair, so are the Scousers, and we're very kind of closely connected anyway. So, you know, I think I think it's a great fight. I'd love to have the fight. I think she said it as well. I'd love it. You know, but I think it deserves to have fans. Same as a Harper rematch. I think that would deserve to have fans. And yeah, so yeah, hopefully we'll get them back soon, but obviously when it's safe to do so.
Finally, Tasha, I just wanted to ask, we can't not ask about him. Mr. Joe Gallagher, I mean, he's such an important part, you know, of your professional life, I'm sure your personal life as well. Just tell us from your perspective, how crucial for you as a fighter is it knowing that you've got him in your corner, in and out of the ring?
So I got asked this question yesterday about, you know, what advice would you give to someone turning over, or what problems did I run into when I turned professional? And I was lucky that I had Joe, because I could have got myself into all situations. Boxing and on the professional side is more of a business and less of a sport, and that might sound mad. The sport happens when you know, you're in the ring, but everything else outside of that is business, and you have to make right business decisions. And if you're coming, especially from the setup that I came from, everything is done for you. You know, you're on GB, your nutritionist there, your food's there, your house is there, all that, you know, is done. So when you become this self-employed athlete, you know, and you're trying to make, you know, PR for yourself and whatever, it's hard work, and you can run into issues, and some offers look great on paper, but when it comes to the actual facts of the contract, it's not as good as it sounds. And yeah, I was just lucky to have someone who's knowledgeable about the games and the loopholes that people can fall into, like Joe. And I know he gets so much stick, but he is 100% for us. There's like, you know, everyone's like, yeah, he's not saying this when he's got this money and he's got that percentage off the Callum fight or whatever fight. And I'm just like, well, you know, surely he's earned it. You know, when I finish a camp, I finished the Terry Harper camp and had a month off or 3 weeks off, whatever it was. Joe's onto Callum Smith, onto this one, onto that one. Do you know what I mean? Joe doesn't stop. If someone's asking for whatever, that's fair dues, because his job doesn't stop and he deserves to be paid for the work that he does, because you have to match Joe. Joe, like I said before, Joe is obsessive, and he's you know, in the book Relentless, he's an out cleaner, and anyone that knows him and knows how he operates will know that. You know, one of the big things with the Terry Harper fight, and he got loads of stick for it, was like everyone was talking it up and talking whatever, and he was like, right, I'm going to take the pressure off. So Joe started making comments and doing things, and suddenly it wasn't about me and Terry Harper, it was about Terry Harper and Steffi. It was about Joe and Steffi. And Joe and Terry, or Joe, Terry, Steffi in a little triangle. And I didn't even get a mention. Everyone was like, what do you think about this? What do you think about what Joe said? What do you think about? But the pressure wasn't on me, because he took it off. And people don't see that that's the brains behind it. Like that, they don't see the method to the madness, is what I'm trying to say. Like, and people can call him for what he wants, but it works.
Actually wanted their Steffi and Joe behind the clubs, not the Harper and Jonas.
Oh, yeah. Behind the ropes. I'm sure we can get a charity match going somewhere.
Oh, I'd love that.
Well, Natasha, on behalf of Southwest Boxing Media, thanks so much for your time today, and we really do honestly wish you all the very best for 2021.
Thank you. And can I just say thank you to yourself and all the other media outlets for, you know, pushing women's boxing, pushing the interviews. Like I said before, this is what we need. We need to have a platform. We need to be there. We need to be seen, and we need to be portrayed. So thank you very much.
Okay,
thank you, Tash.
That's the screen grab right there, I think, for the...
I'm doing your work for you.
Natasha, thanks so much.
Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year. Ta-ra,
Bye now.